Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Aidan Sowa. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting, Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here today on Savvy Broadcasting. We're going to talk about building your online presence. How do you do that? How do you get featured on some of the top media, which you've been able to do? And most of our listening audience is our business owners, and they could definitely use those tips and skills. But before we go to that, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your backstory, because you have your own marketing agency, Sowa Marketing Agency. What even brought you to the world of marketing? What drew you there?
Yeah, it was interesting. Basically, I had no intention whatsoever going into marketing. It's just kind of by a luck thing that I went to like the MIT Enterprise Forum, Cambridge, and I learned a bit about marketing there. It was just a side internship I was doing because I didn't have any opportunities at that time. But then I looked and I learned a lot about marketing, and I realized a lot of these companies, even though they were doing pretty well, they were using like old school tactics, and I saw that as like almost like an opportunity to get into marketing myself. And I did so like around a year later.
Well, you know what? Let's go there, because I'm thinking a lot of the business owners listening in might be doing things some of the old school way. What are some of the missteps you see businesses doing with regards to marketing and using the old style? What are some of those missteps?
Yeah, like for example, like one of the things which we would do every single day, it seemed kind of silly because we were only leveraging one platform, which is Twitter, and we would spend like 20-30 minutes every day creating tweets, and it just didn't seem like a very good use of time. And then we would market to the current marketing list, like using MailChimp, and that was pretty much like the extent of marketing. And it just, there was no outbound marketing, nothing like that. And it didn't feel like the best use of time in that regard.
Yeah. So now you looked at that and you said, hey, there's a much better way to do this that businesses are not cashing in on. What are some of the things you found that were better than some of the old school methods?
Yeah, so like some of the methods, first of all, is like you want to leverage all of your different social media platforms, not just Twitter. So like having like a presence on Instagram, which is pretty much like the modern day business card. So having like, putting stuff in your Instagram stories, putting posts there, we definitely find that useful to be able to do that. But on top of that, also getting featured in like different news outlets as well, which is what we do.
Yeah, and you did phenomenal at that. I found that you were able to get on Yahoo Finance, a number of other big leading online sources. How did you even begin to do that? Did you just reach out to their marketing department, or how did that work out for you?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to meet with some people who are highly connected within the PR space. And they kind of told me some of like the secrets. Some people have been in it for like 10 years plus. So I was able to automatically get access to some of those journalists. So that kind of gave me a leap ahead. And from there, I was able to reach out, get more connections over time, which allowed me to get featured to like Forbes and stuff like that.
Yeah. And here's something important. I've heard of people say, hey, I want to get a hold of some of these journalists, media people, so I can get on top of some of these big publications like Forbes. But you know what? And none of these places will want to feature you unless you come to the table with something to offer them. And
Exactly.
I think that might be what I'm seeing as some of the biggest missteps from business owners is that, hey, I want to, be on Forbes, or I want to be on Wall Street Journal. But if you're going to call these journalists, which are overrun with, I'm sure, a lot of requests from business and other folks, you have to come to the table with something that's going to pique their interest and something to serve their needs and their followers or, subscribers.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of these business owners just come from that one side view. They don't think in the eyes of like a journalist. Like I talk to journalists every day and they're like, yeah, I was just bombarded with 300 emails today, like 99% of which I ignored.
Yeah. In my case, I'm not one of these big time media folks, but I get 60 people contacting me a day saying, hey, I want to get on the show. But often they're not even telling me what they want to talk about. How do they want to serve the savvy audience? What do they have to offer? And so I just press delete, which is I'm guessing what happens to a lot of the business owners or folks who reach out to media is they end up in delete or spam because you're just bothering me. You've got nothing on the table to offer us.
Yeah. Basically, and most of these business owners eventually just give up and they just, decide to post on social media and do other stuff. And they just assume it's like impossible to be able to get into news outlets typically.
Now, what would be your, say, top advice for, say, a business owner saying, okay, I need to offer something on the table, but where do I find out where I could best offer my services, or what publication might be able to utilize what I have to offer?
So first of all, there's like this platform Yahoo, which is like help a reporter out, so you can see like existing pitches, and
Mhm.
you can respond to these different queries. So you can just already journalists are looking for certain stories. So if you can find a way to fit into that story, that's one way.
Mhm.
And the second way, of course, is going to like these different publications like Wired and Forbes, seeing what types of articles they actually have already written. And you could reach out to some of those people, be like, hey, I noticed you touched on XYZ topic, but I really think it could be really good to add on like this additional element. And oftentimes they'll do that. So being able to stand not only like the publication, like the writing style, but also the individual people who write at that publication. That's pretty key.
Yeah, that's fabulous advice. Now, have you found a way to really connect? Because also what's really big these days is video, audio. Have you connected or found good ways to connect with, say, radio, TV, and that such, that those mediums?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've been on TV a number of times, been on like Fox LA, et cetera. And it's a very similar process, et cetera.
Mhm.
It's often like a contacts thing. Like you have to figure out who are the different contacts, the different TV networks and things like that.
Mhm.
And you got to see what types of, if there's a way you can enter into the news, like within like a relevant way.
Mhm.
And oftentimes you have to keep up to date when it comes to different topics in that regard. So you can figure out how you can, I mean, it's called like newsjacking. You basically enter
Mhm.
into the news by like a relevant way, coming on as like an expert.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a business that did advertising with us, and they're an organizer. Well, hey, Christmas is coming around the corner. Maybe you could find ways to contact different publications or TV stations on now the Christmas season coming up. How can people better organize for the Christmas season? You know, putting your expertise in a way and framing it in a way that's best suits whatever publication or news outlet you're trying to reach.
Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing is like now, like the way TV stations are, they're pretty much like 24/7 coverage. Like people's like they're constantly covering TV. So there's plenty of opportunity for you to actually be able to get onto TV. A lot of people don't realize this,
Mhm.
that like it's much more than before. Like TV is constantly covering like different stories and stuff like that to keep people entertained and things.
Yeah.
So it's completely different. And people who think that they can't be on TV because they think, oh, I'm not good enough. That's not true. It's definitely possible for people to get on the TV. You have to just like regular business owners.
Absolutely. Now, also, you mentioned early on about how when you first started working marketing, the company was just kind of doing Twitter posts and spending quite a bit of time just in that one medium. For in the way of social media, how does a business owner decipher where's the best place to see their particular clients or meet up with their particular clients? Should they be on all platforms just to kind of spread the net, or how should they do that?
I would say take it like platform by platform, like get
Mhm.
really good at one platform and then move on. Because, and
Mhm.
also there's very specific ones, like there's certain ones you should be focusing more so on, like TikTok and YouTube shorts. Like there's certain platforms it's just a lot easier to go on, like those in particular. And the older style ones like Instagram and Facebook, it's really hard to just grow there. So it's good to post there occasionally,
Mhm.
but most likely you're not going to build up a significant presence on Facebook just because they've made it impossible pretty much to get like a really high organic reach.
Yeah, I love that you say that. We had a guest on most recently who was telling us about the explosion of shorts, not only on TikTok, that's where it started, but now
YouTube.
YouTube, boom, they're bringing it back. And you know why? He said it's because, people don't have a slew of time, but they might be interested in a set topic or something and they want to hear a bunch of short videos in a short amount of time, and you go to these shorts are usually about a minute long, and if you're able to get your message down in quick slices in a minute, you can get reach more people and build your shorts that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the other side as well, which is like podcasts, which a lot of people are latching onto, starting their own podcasts.
Mhm.
As for right now, it's like incredibly easy to be able to build like a massive following. I've seen people
Yeah.
build like a podcast like the top 3%. I mean, if they're really like this one guy was like he was posting like every single day, like different
Mhm.
episodes and stuff. And he was able to do it in like 120 days. He was able to build a podcast like that top 3%.
Yeah, no, but you're completely right. The one thing I want to stress for podcasting is it takes a lot of back work that I don't think a lot of people are familiar
Oh
with.
yeah.
And I think if you're going to go that route, really know what you're stepping into. Because some people are like, well, I got stuck in here. I can't do posts every day. It's way too much work. just know that if you can't do the work, if you can hire someone to do it, there's a number of businesses that will set up podcasts from beginning and to distribution and do all the legwork, but you got to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, just comparison to like growing on like Facebook and stuff, I see it as a lot easier. Like there's a lot of editing and you have to be consistent, just like any other social media platform. If you continuously put in the effort, you're not going to see like immediate results. Like some people get discouraged. A lot of people, I see people who start podcasts, they're like 15 episodes in and they just give up. And they might have just been like one episode away from actually succeeding. And that's usually why you just got to keep consistently posting, not worry so much about the listeners, but just keep providing, valuable content.
You're spot on there, because when I started this podcast 12 years ago now, but it was interesting because I had started out, got, 50, 100 listens, whatever. And then the people at that time I was on Blog Talk Radio, the people who were running Blog Talk Radio liked my particular content and they put me on their front page, and they started to put me on their front page like on a daily basis. And so my listenership went to, 77,000 listeners overnight. Because they like my content so much. There was one person there. So you never know. There's different ways to get noticed. But in this case, that's what kind of launched us out of the bucket, because we were putting out that continuous great content, and someone noticed it and then put it out for the rest of the followers to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been fabulous. I don't want anyone to miss how they could possibly work with you. I know people are really busy, especially business owners, but that's why you should delegate and call Aidan today. How can they find out more about you, work with you? How can they do that?
Yeah, they could check out my website, sowaagency.co. That's probably like one of the best ways. Other than that, they can reach out to me on Instagram at the Aidan Sowa. On Instagram, I almost always respond immediately to these messages.
Awesome. Well, Aidan, I just have to thank you again for your great wisdom and coming to share today on Savvy Broadcasting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.